Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to give you my first impression on BIA TRAUMEREI. This guy is finally here. It was super hyped up for like a couple of weeks, well, as long as we knew it was going to be introduced. I think most people were already super hyped up to get a family head level character into the game. And yeah, they added a new rarity for him. Is not EX because we don't see EX anywhere in the game, but we see the 10 families icon here instead of the actual rarity. So we could refer to it as EX, but I don't know what their plans are. I will still refer to this rarity as EX rarity, but whatever. We'll see what they publicly announce later on. For now, in this video, I will just give you my first impression on him, if he lives up to the hype or not, how many dupes you would need, stuff like that. Then I'm going to move on to the actual kit and some potential teammates you could run him with. So that's more or less the plan, and I will start immediately with my first impression. I mentioned it a lot of times, like on my Discord and probably also on some of the videos, that I had super high hopes for this unit. In my mind, this guy should have been like a better support than Garam, Anak, Anniversary Iwa, deal more damage than Kaiser, and also just tank like crazy. Like, it should have been every single role in the game better than what we already have. And obviously, if we look at it this way, I don't want to say disappointed, because that would make this guy feel bad, but he's definitely weaker than I was hoping for. And you guys might say, you were hoping for a unit that would have broken the game. Yes, that's correct. So not much I can say there. It was just probably wishful thinking. I don't know. It was impossible. It was never going to happen. But still, the end result is still good. I mean, this guy, a full investment, is broken. 100%. Not as broken as I hoped, but still broken. And no dupes, this guy can definitely be used. He has really good like scenarios where you would want to play him and no dupes. And I will also mention that like all the dupes in between Zero Dupes and Rainbow 5 are not as impactful as people might think. They are, in a certain way, if you want to play a specific team comp that I'm going to talk about later. But for his main purpose and the way they kind of designed this kit, it will do just fine at Zero Dupes. But this leaves us with an issue, and that is the way to obtain this unit. At the moment, we have a banner with 1% chance of getting him, with a kind of PT that's present in most gachas, but was not like that in this game. So a PT that resets if you get the unit before the actual PT. So yeah, I mean, this guy, if you want to max him out, is going to be super expensive. So yeah, it's not really that easy for free-to-play players to get dupes. As I mentioned before, it's not going to change that much. It's just going to gain an additional potential playstyle, starting from 3 green, 3 purple, depending on the way you invest in some other units. But I'm going to talk about that in the section for the potential teams, let's say. Here, I just wanted to mention that from my point of view, people should stop at 0 dupes if your resources do not allow for, at the very least, 3 purple. If you're going for 3 green, 3 blue, and you would only have like your total amount of resources would only allow you to get there, I'd rather save if I were you. Like, just get no dupes. Like, no dupes should be in everyone's account. So pull for 1 copy of TRAUMEREI and then stop. That would be my recommendation. Now, I get that a lot of people will have FOMO or fear of missing out, because right now the only way to obtain this guy is through his banner at a 1% rate, and after this banner is gone, we'll only have a 0.1% rate in the black market. That should already be there actually. But yeah, you have 1 in 1,000 pool chance to get him, and as far as I know, there is no PT, so you might never get him. But yeah, like, it's really impossible basically to get him after this banner is gone. So I get a lot of people would want to invest more than they can actually afford. But I will say I'm pretty sure lately, like now later on, they will introduce some either specific banners or rerun his banner. Because otherwise it's going to be really tricky. Probably they're not giving us any information now because again they want to capitalize on the fact that people don't want to miss out on this unit, so they will spend money in order to get him. And then after his banner is over, maybe a month later, they will say, yes, we're going to implement an additional way to get these kind of units, blah, 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 blah. Stuff like that. I think that's going to happen. Maybe it's not going to be 1 month. Maybe it could be even 5 or 6 when they might release the next one. I don't know, but I'm sure we will get more ways to get these kind of units in the future. It cannot be limited only to this. So if you don't have the resources to, and you're not willing to spend, which makes total sense, I would stick with one, like with just getting him. No dupes is fine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think when we look at the skills, I can also say what changes with levels and if it makes sense or not, blah, blah, blah. And maybe we can also look at what we get with the limit breaks because it's different from the previous units. We're going to get different stats increase and different things from actually limit breaking the unit. So yeah, that's pretty much all for my first impression. Again, this guy is absolutely broken on Rainbow 5. Even though I don't have him, I will have him next week after I get all the tickets that I bought from the check-in. I will then finalize my pooling for this guy and get him to Rainbow 5. Until then, I will just use him at 3 red and see how he performs with, like, while being in the middle. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my first impression. Absolutely great guy and can be used in almost every single team. Is more relying on who you're facing than who you're playing with. And yeah, I will just go over the skills now quickly, hopefully, but it will still take some time, I'm pretty sure. So we have the passive Lopo BIA family head. This is the most complicated skill in his whole kit. The other 3 skills are going to take no time. They're going to be super quick. So the passive is going to summon 2 creatures, the Kraken and Cobalt, so the frog, with 120% of his stats, doesn't scale with levels, both ends of the battlefield, always behind his back. And both Kraken and Cobalt decrease all enemies' energy by 30 every 3 seconds. Pretty nice to disrupt the enemy and have your team cast their special move first, which is pretty nice. And then is going to also, like, they are also going to take 30% of the damage that TRAUMEREI would take in his place. So a sort of damage redirect to increase TRAUMEREI survivability, which is also good, but nothing that insane, I'd say. Then the next part of the passive is the condition for the creatures to attack, because they are not going to attack otherwise, except for when TRAUMEREI command them to with another active skill. But these are the conditions for the creatures to attack. The first creature, Kraken, is the weaker one of the two. He's going to get a 40% attack increase for 10 seconds when any ally, including summon beings, dies, with a maximum of 3 stacks. Now this is absolutely trash, kind of, because this condition is hopefully not going to be fulfilled if you're running him in a standard team. You don't want your allies to die normally, unless you're running him with 4 units that are just there for that purpose, to just die, so to sacrifice themselves so that the Kraken can attack. But even then, that would just be 4 attacks, which is not much. So kind of weak from my point of view. And if we look at this skill level 1, that would be a 20% attack increase on the Kraken, max 60% if you have 3 units that die in succession, and 200% attack as damage to all enemies, like 4 times. That's pretty bad. The only like reasonable unit that could help him in like use this part of the passive would be Gustang. He's the only one with a summoned being that you don't care if they die, because Gustang can keep on summoning them. This would imply a very strict kind of build on Gustang, having him at exactly or right above 100% resistances, so that his drones are only going to have like 80-85% resistances so that they can die. But even then, this is not as reliable if TRAUMEREI starts casting a special move like consistently. So all in all, the Kraken is not really going to be important in terms of damage for your team. Kind of weak, and I don't want to talk more about him than this. The second summon, on the other hand, is pretty good. Cobalt is going to remove any attack increase or barrier that the enemy is going to receive, unless stated otherwise on the buff that the enemy is receiving. Like if they're getting an attack buff that says cannot be removed by buff removal skills, is not going to be removed. Barriers, I believe there are none that at the moment cannot be removed, which would be a pretty massive counter. I haven't checked, to be honest, because I only tried him in Adventure. I haven't checked if it removes Doris and Runda, because this guy could single-handedly just remove Runda and Doris from the meta entirely. Like, you might as well not run it, because their buffs are only effective as long as there is a barrier. But if Cobalt can remove it and also deal max HP damage to the unit, that's just shooting yourself on the foot. So I have to check that. Actually, I haven't, so I will try it out, and maybe during the actual character review of this video of this unit, I will tell you what I found out. But yeah, absolutely amazing already just for removing these two things, because a lot of units with barriers are extremely annoying, and this is absolutely amazing. People might say, but Zahard is already removing barriers. Yes, but his barrier removal is too conditional. This guy removes it immediately. As soon as they have the shield on them, it's going to be removed, and there is no internal cooldown. It's going to remove every single barrier. If you are against the Ghost, every single barrier is going to be removed. Unfortunately, Ghost still heals up a bit too much, so you cannot really reliably kill him, especially at 0 dupes, because that's going to be only a 10% max HP damage, but he's still definitely super helpful. So amazing, really, really good. Cobalt is really insane. And this is one of the reasons why this guy at 0 dupes is already perfectly fine at countering specific teams. And these specific teams, as you could guess, are attack increase kind of compositions, where you have a lot of units that are buffing the attack of another one. In that case, amazing. And in case you're facing units with a lot of barriers, like Amigo Charts, Urek, Ghost, Horiang, Romei even, those kind of units, amazing. Absolutely insane. I don't want to say anything else, but that's really, really good. Then we have the last part of the passive. TRAUMEREI, Kraken, and Cobalt are immune to all status effects except for silence and do not move. Do not move also protects from Irang vortex, so they cannot be pulled in the center of the battle. They're always going to stay where you place them, which is pretty cool. And immunity to all status effects is nice. Unfortunately, this prevents you from running Rafflesia, because I was almost sure, and that I was almost sure that it was like Urek, so that the effect was if you are hit by a status effect, doesn't matter if the status effect applies to you or not, just that you are hit by a skill that would normally apply a status effect. No, for Rafflesia you need to be inflicted with a status effect, and then that effect needs to be removed by the Rafflesia effect, and then you get the energy. So that's unfortunate. You can only run the 2-piece Rafflesia. That's really not that great. Rafflesia can still be used if you're facing units with a lot of silences. At that point, it still works because it states that silence can still affect him. But it cannot be affected by silence when casting a special move. We're going to see that it states they cannot be affected by anything, but yeah, whatever. I'm just digressing a bit too much. Let's move on to the next active skill, and there is not much to say here. Gaze is going to remove all enemy concealed state. Pretty useless right now, might be more useful in the future. And the thing is, it might be useful if the enemy has a prolonged concealed state. If it's a short one, like a Nevan, for example, that we have now, that is concealed for like a couple of seconds, you would have to activate the skill during that couple of seconds to remove the conceal. And if you're removing it like 0.1 second before it would have normally expired, there's no value there. If you just cast it and then you remove it immediately, amazing. But this is an active skill. The two things need to be aligned. And that's most likely not gonna happen. So this is more of a counter for future units we don't have in the game. Right now, useless. The second portion is also kind of useless because it's going to decrease swiftness of nearby enemies by 100, physical resistance by 20%, magic resistance by 20% for 10 seconds. Unfortunately, physical and magic resistance are not increasing with levels, so that's just a flat 20%. And swiftness goes from 50 to 100 from level 1 to 5. And my problem with this skill is the area. Nearby enemies is like a small circle around him, and it sucks. Nobody's going to be inside that unless the enemies have an assassin that's jumping on you. But also, this is a skill that if you go for him Rainbow 5 and Revolution 7, like nobody's targeting him. The chances that you will have units around him are low. And if you have him Rainbow 5, chances are you're kind of chaining special moves, and your special moves is knocking enemies back away from you. So that's entirely useless. Like I don't really see many scenarios where this active skill would be that important. Okay, if you have him active and someone goes through you, they're going to have swiftness decreased. Fine, whatever. No, I don't like it that much. Revolution 4 makes it a bit better, at least buffs the allies that are inside the circle. You could place him so that at least one unit gets the buff other than him. But again, nothing really insane from my point of view, so just whatever. I don't really like this one. I feel like this is totally wasted. Then we have the second active skill. TRAUMEREI becomes invincible for 2 seconds and increases the attack of all allies, including summoned beings, by 80% for 8 seconds, and is then ordering the Kraken and Cabal to attack 1 time each. This is the only thing that basically makes the Kraken relevant and also helps him against teams that don't have shielders, attack buffers, and that do not kill your units. So yeah, in those scenarios, you will have to command the pets to attack, otherwise they just stand there doing nothing. The invincibility is okay, and the attack increase on all summoned beings is pretty cool, and also works really well with a Gustang if you're building in with a bit of DPS, a Ren, or I don't want to say Lopobia Lilial because I don't really think there is much synergy there. But yeah, definitely a pretty good buff to have. Now, the special move. Special move is insane. The AoE is basically the whole map. It becomes immune to status effects, so basically only silence, and is going to then unleash all creatures toward the end of the battlefield to deal 200% at level 5, otherwise it's 100% of his attack is damaged 12 times. So 1200 at level 1 or 2400% attack at level 5. Each hit jolting the enemy and pushing them back. Obviously this is not the best against an Urek because you would likely heal him more than you damage him, especially if you have him at your dupes with 100% attack 12 times. Urek is just being fully healed by you alone for some reason. So I don't really like to see this kind of jolting, but at the same time is fine if the enemy is not Urek. So pretty good. And then the exclusive equipment is also going to buff it. But as we can see, there is nothing much to this skill. Pretty basic, just straight up damage and CC on all enemies, which is still super amazing. Then I would say we can just have a quick look at the exclusive equipment because it is also pretty good, I would say. The lifesteal, I don't like it that much. I'd rather get like 10% physical resistance, but I guess it's still okay because your summoned beings are going to get 12%, 120% of it, so 12% lifesteal. And you're going to get some lifesteal. You're still taking some damage here and there, even though I'd recommend building him resistances, but that's a topic for the ignition weapon section. You're still taking damage, so heating it up is nice, and you will see when you play him that it will actually recover quite a bit of HP. And due to the fact that it doesn't have it as a sub node, having it here is not the worst. So I guess it's fine, but it's making creating an ignition weapon set for him really, really tricky. Still, let's have a look at the other effects. We have the level 1, Traumerei silences enemies hit by unleashable creatures, which is the special move, for 3 seconds. This is amazing. Like for the whole duration of the special move, enemies are going to be jolted, knocked back, and also silenced. So hopefully one of those is going to affect the enemy, other than Urek. Urek can do whatever he wants, but yeah, this is pretty massive and can help, especially because with the last hit, you can then charge up the next special move in certain compositions, and the enemies would still be silenced by the time they get the next attack. So basically you can chain your special moves and the enemies cannot ever cast theirs, which is amazing. Level 2, Kraken and Cobalt energy drain increases by 10. Here it says every second. I still haven't checked if it goes from 30 to 40 every 3 seconds or 30 every 3 seconds plus 10 every second. Is not clear. They always do sort of a bad job at translating, but let's assume is the worst case scenario is 40 per creature every 3 seconds. It is 80 energy every 3 seconds. Still quite nice. Then we have invincibility duration of his active skill that already gives him 2-second invincibility. Is going to go up to 4 seconds. Pretty nice invincibility window, so it's okay. Level 4, Traumerei attack increases by 6% and defense increases by 6% when hit by any status effect attack other than silence. So it's pretty much the same as Urek has. Whenever he's hit by a status effect, so not inflicted, like Rafflesia says, unfortunately, he's going to get an attack and defense increase up to 30%. It doesn't say any duration, it doesn't say until the end of the battle. We can just imagine it's until the end of the battle. This is nice when you're hit by AoE effect or just in general when enemies are attacking you. All in all, it's not bad. I will say obviously you want the plus 20 for sure to have access to the ignition weapons. Level 4 is nice, but it's not that mandatory. Maybe you can just forgo it a little bit if you are still early on and you don't have a lot of exclusive equipment mats, but definitely sooner or later just get him to level 30 as well. Then the next point, I would say just in general, I don't want to talk about the equipment, just go for resistances and the rest as you see fit. If you're running him as a DPS, which is kind of tricky at low dupes, but can definitely be done, then also level slot 2, and if you're lacking accuracy, level the other one, usual stuff. If we look before going into Revolution, I wanted to see here the pocket certificate because as you can see, it changed. They gave him 40% on all stats at 3 green, which is pretty important. A 70% decreased damage taken from red element at 3 blue. They just buffed the existing one, which is okay. 3 purple, again, all 3 stats increase. Also pretty interesting. 3 red, 200 battle start energy. And then we have 4 orange, increased damage dealt to blue element plus 70%. Also pretty cool. And then we have battle start energy plus 500. So 700 battle start energy, 80% HP attack and defense, and 70% damage taken reduction and 70% damage dealt increase, which again is not like a 70% increase. It's just you have to subtract the 50% that the enemy will have resistance toward you, kind of thing. So it will be a plus 20, which is a plus 20 from the 100% increase. So instead of dealing double damage, you will deal 120% of the damage that you would have already done. So it's not really that big of an increase compared to the other one, but still okay-ish. And yeah, absolutely amazing. I would say we can go over the revolution. And yeah, I will talk more about the pocket certificate increases when we go to the like teammates section, I'd say. For the revolution, as I mentioned, this guy is the first one to have revolution 8, and it seems they plan to keep it for family head levels. They're not going to add it to SSR plus units. And now that we have 8 levels, we're going to get an upgrade for every single skill: passive, active, and special move. And yeah, they also changed some of the subnodes, which is pretty interesting. The initial ones are more or less the usual ones. We have evasion, we have effect resistance, and we have crit damage reduction. Then we have for Revolution 4 HP, crit hit resistance, steel staff for supports, kind of weak. Attack, absolutely a must have. Obviously, if you have him Rainbow 5, that's unfortunately the condition. And recovery received doesn't really matter as much. Special move resistance, I will probably max out most of these things, but I will say we don't need to most of the times. Attack is the most important one, together with max cooldown reduction at the tier 6. Accuracy, if you need to, this 300 accuracy is pretty interesting. So you will never run in accuracy issues. 400 affected is also pretty dope. Then I would say getting at least like 10-ish points here could also come in handy, but it's probably one of those nodes you also want to max. Probably 4th in priority, I would say attack, cooldown reduction, and special move pierce that we have in tier 8 are the most important ones. Then effect hit. Effect resistance is cheap, so you might build it first. And after these 5 nodes, you can go, I'd say, HP and defense. That's definitely nice. Crit damage resistance and reduction will also help quite a lot. I will probably max him out entirely. I want this guy to be as beastly as he can. And as you can see, I have the resources to do so, so I will definitely do that. Though it's probably better spent on other units, whatever, but I still like this one. So okay, that's more or less it for the subnodes. If we look at the improvements on the skills, we have Revolution 4 that's going to improve the gaze skill. That's the one I don't really like. But this is going to give all enemies inside the range 30%, sorry, not enemies, all the allies inside the range, 30% physical and magic resistance increase. Nice, not too important, but it's nice. Then we have an improvement with Revolution 5 on Ruler of All Things. And other than increasing attack by 80%, is also going to increase defense by 80%. Nice increase. Is it needed? I'd say at high deficits, yes, because defense becomes pretty important if you don't want your units to get one-shotted, even if they have 100% resistances. Could have been better, but it's okay-ish, I guess. Then we have special move improvement on Revolution 6, and that is TRAUMEREI increases the magic pierce of all allies by 30% for 8 seconds when unleashing the special move. This is pretty good. This is really good. It's just more damage for him and more damage for potentially Gustang if you're playing with Gustang, Ren, or some other magic damage dealers. Really, really cool. Revolution 7 is also super massive. TRAUMEREI cannot be targeted if Kraken or Cobalt are present on the battlefield. This is pretty amazing, but it can still be hit by AoE attacks. This is going to be super beneficial for the L4 piece. It's going to reliably give him a high uptime on that, and just in general improves his survivability quite a lot. But again, doesn't synergize well with his gaze skill, but still pretty good on Revolution 7, I would say. And Revolution 8, we don't really care. Summon Beast attack increases by 50% and his HP increases by 100% in Arena. Whatever. So that's pretty much Revolution. I was thinking it would have gotten better Revolution increases. I'd say Revolution 6 and 7 are his best ones. And the special move Pierce is absolutely a must. Like 60% on that special move is massive. Amazing. So yeah, I would say damage-wise, I'm a bit sad it doesn't have crit rate and crit damage to cap it out. So I still say like he's probably the highest damage dealer right now, but because he has crazy high stats and special move Pierce. I'm really looking forward to what they had to a mage or an assassin or a ranged unit for Revolution 7 and 8 once we're going to get them released as family heads. But for now, for support, he's okay, but not insane. Okay, he's still fine. You could save up on some resources if you want to. I will probably, again, as I mentioned before, max it out completely, but you can save up in this scenario. The rest here is all the same. I only have him right now at Rainbow 1, but again, I'm not going to do anything right now. I will play for like 3-4 days with 3 red, then I'm going to try 4 orange, and then finally in a week, I'm going to get him to Rainbow 5. Something like that. So yeah, that's more or less it for Revolution as well. Now I can briefly talk about the ignition weapons. I will say ignition weapon, if you have him at 0 dupes, I'd probably stick to Sela, even though the 4-piece doesn't apply to the summon beings, but at least it makes it easier to put some damage here and there, maybe run a slot 5 Pierce without too much difficulty. You should get enough resistances. You should still aim for like an 84% so that your summons have the 100%, and then you kind of overcap it with Sela, but when the enemies die, obviously it's going to be lower. So 84, it's an okay spot to stop, and if you can add some additional magic pierce here and there, it's going to be fine. But I would go for this if you don't have a good L set, or if you just have very, very low dupes, like no dupes at all. 3 blue. From 3 purple to 3 red, I would already start looking for an L set, because this is his best set. It's going to help him in getting energy to cast the first special move and just get some more attack. Now the attack increase is not as important, but it's still quite nice. And especially if you have him Rainbow 5 with Revolution 7, you can reliably keep this buff up, so it's definitely good. But that being said, it doesn't really have a set that shines that much. Like, it doesn't really have a super best in slot set, unfortunately. Could have been Rafflesia if it wasn't inflicted, but if it was hit, then Rafflesia would have been a pretty solid set. Could still be okay in PvP if you're facing a lot of silences, but overall not the best choice anymore. You could go hybrid sets, like 2-piece L, 2-piece Doris, 2-piece L, 2-piece Rafflesia, 2-piece Rafflesia, 2-piece Doris. Those kind of combinations. It seems like 2-piece Doris, 2-piece Rafflesia is the better option, or Doris, doesn't matter. The 10% HP is not going to make that big of a difference. Go for the 2 pieces you have better between Doris and Rafflesia, and pair them with 2-piece L. It's going to regen the most amount of energy for a quicker ult, but I will say that can be removed by a Garam, Anniversary Iwa, or Urek, because the 2-piece effect is not permanent, can be removed by buff removals. So I'd rather rely on a 4-piece effect that I can reproc multiple times, like an L set. So yeah, definitely if you're against a Garam that just removes all buffs every 10 seconds, going L is a better pick. Just regardless, because you're going to lose Sela, you're going to lose the 2-piece. It's just a mess. Buff removals kind of make building ignition weapons a bit trickier. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say L is going to be better most of the times. In terms of main stats, the ideal combination would be Magic Resistance slot 4 and Magic Pierce slot 5, but that's only if you can still get 100% resistances in both. People can, like there are a lot of people that manage to do it. I tried to farm some sets, I tried to upgrade something, but this was the best I could get. Just I couldn't get enough physical resistance. I tried to put physical resistance anywhere. The rolls didn't go up as I hoped for, so I was forced to go for physical resistance slot 5. It still deals a ton of damage, so it doesn't matter. But ideally, you would want to run Magic Pierce slot 5 and have a shit ton of physical resistance in every single subnode, like 15% in every single piece. That would be amazing. It's super difficult though, so up to you. Sela definitely will help here. And yeah, if you cannot, like me, just run physical resistance and it's fine until you can get a better piece or better pieces in general. That's what you should run. So yeah, that's pretty much it for ignition weapons. Now, in terms of teams, which is one of the, like, that is the remaining point, I would say. It doesn't really have any team archetype where it shines in. Like, it doesn't have particular synergies with anyone. Like, it works everywhere. He's fine in every single team you want to add him in. It will work. He has that synergy I mentioned before with Gustang to have the Kraken attack, and also you can try to build your Gustang a bit more offensively so that he can also deal damage, and his bots will deal a ton of it. But I will say Gustang will still deal, Traumerei will still deal more damage than him. And as I said before, the Kraken attack is not as important in Traumerei's kit. So there is synergy, but I don't think it's worth the effort, and I don't think it's going to be as impactful as I thought it would be. It would have been before we actually got the release of Traumerei. So yeah, there is synergy, but not that important. Other units like Aran, okay, sure, it can buff the bull's damage, but again, is not the biggest of buffs. Is an 80% to the bull, which has a lot of attack, obviously, because it's getting 160% of Ran's attack, but still not as massive as we could think. It would probably still deal more damage than Ren too. So, like, there are not many teams where you actually benefit from his kit directly. He's a support, but he's a weird one. I think the team should be built to support him, kind of. So yeah, you can just slot him in everywhere. Doesn't really matter which teammates he has. I don't think there are really any that outshine the others. I have to try more in different compositions to actually see, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Like, he's going to do fine no matter the team you play him in, and even in his best teams, is not going to buff the team that much. Still good, but not that much. So yeah, I would say that's pretty much it for the allies. There is not much I can tell you, but what I can say is that is going to rely more on who you're playing him against. Like, if you are playing him against units that can buff attack, then he's going to be amazing. If you can play him against units that are going to have a lot of shield, then he's going to be amazing. If the enemy team doesn't have any of the two things, then that's a problem, because this guy is only going to basic attack and special move, which is fine at Rainbow 5 because that's most of his damage. At 0 dupes, most of his damage is Cobalt. I would say he still deals a nice amount of damage, probably more than other units, but Iran would still out damage him if there are no shields and no attack buffs. So in those kind of teams, it's not as important. So yeah, that's where you would want to have more dupes, because more dupes would open up a specific team comp that's been abused, I would say, lately, and that is Garam, Mamanak, and that's basically it. Just those two. Then you can add an array in if you want to be extra toxic, and you might even add a regular Leroro. If you want to be safer, you can run an anniversary one in that last slot, or you can run a Lozel, whoever can buff your team damage. That's what you want to run in the last one. And your Traumere needs to be the highest attack unit so that it can get linked by Mam Anak. So that you can just chain special move into special move into special move into special move. That's absolutely... That's really like super insane. The enemies are always going to be at the back, always silenced, always jolted. Absolutely crazy. But the issue with that is that this guy, and no dupes, doesn't have a lot of attack. So at 0 dupes, your Garam will have an higher attack. Your Anniversary Iwa, if you're using her, will have an higher attack. Pretty sure also Nare is going to have an higher attack. Let me just try real quick to put together a team. Okay, I was already using this kind of team. Here there is no Mamanak because I didn't want to abuse her too much, but let's just do that. She's just too broken of a unit. And if we'll... Well, okay. Now my unit here will have more attack than them. 3,900 million. So 3 billion. Probably, actually, I just increased their attack and I also wanted to share this. Yes, exactly. So even a 3 red, this is not working anymore. Because this guy will have less attack than Garam. I don't know why they did it like this. But right now I don't have the attack investment in here because I don't have access to it. It should be below Revolution 4. So I don't have the 120% attack, but Garam does. So Garam, even if she's 10 links below, she still has more attack. So if you're Garam or your Anniversary Iwa, well, actually Anniversary Iwa, you can just not play her in this team. Like, they are going to have a higher attack if you invested in that subnode. But let me see just real quick. Because I remember he had 2.8 billion attack, 0 dupes. So if I give her this, she has more attack. Like, Nare has more attack than your Traumere if it's 0 dupes. So you want the 3 green to have more attack than all the other units. And that's given your Garam doesn't have, again, the investment on the attack subnode. If she does have investment on the attack subnode, then you need him. You need him as well with the investment in attack subnode. That's the only problem with running this comp. So if your Garam doesn't have a lot of investment, all your other units don't have a lot of investment, that's great. You can run him. Like, you could potentially take him to 3 green and he would have more attack than them, which opens up this kind of composition where it's just going to chain his special moves and just destroy the enemies. I would say we could actually try it out. Let's just enter battle real quick just to see. But yeah, you will see he's going to spam the special move like crazy. And now he's going to fail. I don't know. We'll see. He's already going to start. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. The linked one is Garam. My bad. I checked it, but I forgot right after I checked it. Because as I mentioned, I gave her that. But in this case, I just need to release this piece. She still has 4-piece Runda, which is fine. Perfect. So in this case, she has less attack, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it's still working. You could remove 1 piece and you'd be fine-ish, but up to you. So now we can see that he is going to be the linked ally. So he's going to get the energy regen, and we're going to get this special move chained back to back to... Okay, Nare shouldn't have died, and the same shouldn't have happened for Traumere. Okay, interesting. My team was a bit too squishy. So probably Anniversary would help a bit more here. Let's just add her in. I really want to show you the way the special move chains. So let's try again. Ah, damn it. She has more attack now, right? Or maybe I didn't increase our attack. No, okay, I didn't increase our attack, which is good. So now let's look at the energy. He's full again, so after that is over, he's going to cast the second one. And you can see the enemies cannot even move. They're perma-silenced, they're perma-knockback, they're perma-jolted, and it doesn't matter. Before the next special move is cast, the enemies are still silenced. That's absolutely amazing. There was one frame where they weren't and Garam could cast the special move, but you see just how insane this kind of composition is. The thing is, this composition works with a lot of units. Like, this is a highly requested comp, mainly Anak plus Garam. You can replace Traumerei with Ren, Eden, whoever relies on the special move. Even a Jinsung would work fine, Data Machining would work fine. Regular Yuri not as much. Compressed Rock would work fine. Joaquin would work fine. Like, a lot of units will absolutely excel in this comp, so it's not a surprise that it does as well. But I think there are not many compositions that can beat Traumerei in this position. I will just run the next fight, and that would be pretty much it. This video is already super long. I don't even know what the hell I said for 45 minutes. But yeah, whatever. I think it's still okay as a video to release. Yeah, we can see just him chaining the special moves now, and the enemy team shouldn't have a chance to do anything. This is just plain insanity. Really insanity, guys. I don't know what to say. The AoE is so massive and the damage is so insane. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I would say, guys, for this video. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on this unit. If you were disappointed by him, if you think he's great, just let me know what you think about him. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.